Hey, how you doing? This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. We're down in our workshop. It's early in the morning. It's about 5 o'clock, so it's not too hot, although there's quite a bit of residual heat, and I'd like to turn the air on, but it's so noisy, can't do that. Anyway, we're back to the iRonsnow emergency radio. And before I go on, let me tell you what happened. I got an email last night from the iRonsnow people saying they saw my video and they'd like me to review some of their other emergency radios. Apparently they have a number of emergency radios, and we're going to see how that works out. So that might be coming up in the future. The last thing we did with this radio is we did my 5-minute crank test. That is, we discharged the radio and then we used this dyno crank thing to charge the internal battery. And we cranked it for only 5 minutes. That's it. We did a 1-minute crank, and then we rested our hands and so on. And we accumulated a cranking of 5 minutes. And then we played a light, this light right here, 8 LEDs, and the radio at the same time to give it a little heavier drain, and it played for 38 minutes. Continuous use, 38 minutes, 5 minutes, where's my thumb? 5 minutes of cranking. Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. So that's great. That's fantastic. I'm really impressed with this radio so far. Now, it's got many other features. The next feature we tested, and we didn't test it very good, I'll put it that way, and I'll tell you why, is we did the test where we did the crank test and we drained the radio. So now, then the radio was drained. Then we put it in the sun, and this is a solar cell here. It's not a display. And we didn't put it in direct sun. Now, I'm not really going to do that, and I advise you not to do that. If you have any of these solar powered devices with a built-in a solar panel, if you got a separate little solar panel, that'll be okay. But these devices where the panel is built in, I would not suggest you put them in direct sunlight to charge it. That's the fastest way to charge it, but it could slowly deteriorate the rest of the radio, because I know I've done that in the past on a couple of radios, and I went outside to go check on them, and I touched them and they were like, oh my gosh, they're burning. They were so hot because of that solar radiation. So what I have done in the past is I have a south facing windowsill that's big. The windowsill is big enough I can set a radio on it, a small radio on it. So I set the radio on there and let it charge that way. Now, it doesn't get direct sunlight at all because there's an overhang, so it's getting indirect sunlight, I'll call it. And of course, there's lots of variables because clouds come over and block the sun, so it doesn't get as much charging time. So I charged it yesterday in that condition. Like I say, is not ideal. Another thing I thought about trying is putting it outside and then covering up everything except the solar cell. Thought about doing that, but right now it's 95 degrees outside in the afternoons. That's one thing. And I just don't think it's a good idea to put something like this in that environment. So I didn't do that. So I left it in the window for 3 hours and 47 minutes. And again, it wasn't direct sunlight, and sometimes it was overcast, so it wasn't a very controlled environment. And so right now, we're going to see if the radio even comes on. Now, the other thing is, the radio has been off, and it was off, of course, and the light was off. Everything was off when I was doing the charging. The radio's been off overnight, and you can see very dimly, maybe, no you can't, I can see it, but very dimly, the little red LED is lit. It's very dim. Normally it's much, much brighter. And I think that's an indication that it's getting some charging with the overhead lights. Because normally when you're either charging with the crank or the USB port or solar, that light will be on and it'll be on pretty bright. So anyway, it's getting a little bit of charging. It was in the dark all night. So it had a little bit of drain. That was my point. I had a little bit of drain on it. So we're going to try this morning, right now, to see if it got enough charge to run the radio, and then we'll try to turn the lamp on and see what happens. And then if it's working, we'll have to just leave it run for a while and see how long it lasts. Now, if it doesn't, I've got some more tests coming up that I could start if this doesn't have any charge on it, which it may not with that very limited charging time in kind of the shade, so it wasn't in direct sunlight. So here we go. Let me see if I got everything turned off. I want to turn the radio on. Here we go. So the radio's working. Now I'm going to look at my watch here. I'm at 5:20. Yeah, I'm 5:20 a.m. Now we're going to increase the drain by turning this lamp on here. Here we go. See what happens. Okay, it's working. It's not real bright. And of course I got a lot of overhead lights on, so you can't really tell how bright it is, but it's on. Now, I'm just going to talk for a few minutes and tell you about my next test, and let's see how long this runs. So let me get it over here a little bit away from me, so that the radio is not too loud. So that's those tests. Now the next test I want to do, and I don't know, again, my tests are not very scientific and they're not very controlled, but it gives you some idea. So the next test I'm going to do is, it has an output, a 5-volt output that you can use to charge other devices such as a cell phone. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to move the radio further away from me. It's too loud. But I want to keep the volume up so it's using up power. Okay, so it's on the other side of the room. I only charged it for, what did I say? 3 hours and 47 minutes, almost 4 hours. And of course that was late afternoon, so it was, well, let's see, I started at 1:41 p.m. in the afternoon. So a lot of the sun was down in the later stages of that test. We'll see how it does. So anyway, back to this. So I have this tester. This is a USB tester, and it has a display right here, which will display, let me zoom in a little bit for you. That's maximum I can get on this zoom. It will display the power out, the current being drawn, and the total power, and I think something else. So I can hook this to the output of the charging port of the radio, and then hook the other end, this end, to this cell phone. Again, this is not a very controlled test. I don't even know if this cell phone works. I know the last time I used it about 3 months ago, and it's not connected to a service provider. It was given to me for experimenting reasons, and the SIM card, or whatever they call it, is not in here. And the battery is totally discharged because it's been sitting and not charged for months. So we're going to hook this up and hook it up to the radio. And first I will try using the radio with a discharged internal battery and see if using the crank with that dead battery or discharged battery, it's not dead, if I can still get current to the cell phone to charge it, and if I can hold everything right, I can measure the voltage and current that's going into the cell phone when I'm charging. And I can charge for a short period of time because I can't crank very long. I am a crank, but I can't crank very long. So we're going to just see if it will start charging the cell phone. Like I say, this cell phone is pretty dead. Then what we'll do is we will charge the internal battery on the radio. We'll use a USB cable to charge it. That way I can get it fully charged. And then we'll hook it up to this circuit and see what the charging voltage is and charging current is into the cell phone, and see if it'll charge the cell phone and how much. Now that's really empirical data, because cell phones will vary, their batteries that got them will vary, so the load they present and how much it charges, that's all variables. But we'll just get some idea if it works. That's what we want to do, just see if it works. So that's the test that's coming up, and I will start that test as soon as the radio and the light die, because the battery is drained from the previous test, which is the solar charging test. And I'm going to walk over there where it is and bring it back over here and show it to you what the condition is right now. Okay. Where'd it go? Okay, there it is. Still playing. Loud. I mean, normal volume. Actually, I have had to crank it up to almost max volume to get what I consider normal volume, which would typically be on this radio about halfway. So that battery's not that charged, and it's charging the light. Now, I could turn my overhead lights off, but they're fluorescent lights, and they take a long time to get going again, so I don't want to do that. But it does have, I would say, minimal light. Just enough if you're in a camp or something at night. It would be sufficient to kind of see things. You wouldn't want to try to read from it. Oh, right now, the lights are kind of flickering off. See, can you see that? See, they're kind of flickering, probably based on the draw from the radio. So it's right on the edge. It probably won't last much longer. I was hoping, not hoping, but I was thinking maybe it would drain while I did this show, and then I could start the next one. All right. Again, that's the wrong test. I only charged it for about a little less than 4 hours, and it was in the radio is working pretty good, talking over me. It was in very indirect sunlight. So again, you could put it in direct sunlight and it'll charge much faster, but you run that risk of overheating the radio itself and maybe damaging the plastic, and the writing on the radio might fade. I wouldn't advise that. Another better test would be to put it in my window and leave it there during all of the sunlight, so for like, say, 8 hours, and do a test. But this is just preliminary test to see if it charged at all. You know, in that condition where I had very little sunlight, indirect sunlight, it's only for 4 hours, late afternoon. So we'll see. It's been playing now for 12, 15 minutes. That's more than I thought it would do. That's good. That's very good. All right, I think we're going to wrap this show up and let that thing continue to play and monitor it. And then once it dies, we can then do the charging test, try to charge a cell phone with either just the crank and the battery discharged, and then do a full charge of the battery and let the battery only charge the cell phone. So that's what's coming up. If you enjoy these shows, please give me a thumbs up. I hope the seller of these radios will send me a demo unit of some of his other radios, because this one has turned out to be pretty good. I'm impressed with this one compared to other inexpensive radios. Again, this radio is about $25 on Amazon. It's in my Amazon store. I have a link to my store below each of my recent videos, and I'd appreciate it if you're going to get one to go through my store. There's no extra charge or anything. You're dealing, once you go to my store on Amazon, you're dealing directly with Amazon. So if you have any problems or you need a return, or if you're, guess what? It just went off. So let's see, let me watch this. 5:29, so it lasted 9 minutes. 9 minutes on this very short solar charge. So I'm 16 minutes into this video. I don't like my videos to go over 20 minutes, otherwise people get bored and stop watching. Well, they do that anyway, but it makes it worse if I make them too long. So I'm going to finish this video, and then I'll set up for the next test. As a matter of fact, I'll turn the air on for a little while. It's getting hot in here, and cool it down, and then I can turn the air back off. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.